Hey guys, all right, first audio engineering video of 2025. Through the month of January, I shared lyric videos from my project Lament. If you did not check that project out or see those videos, go back and take a look at that. Great material that's gonna help you out in your time of prayer or meditation, or even if you just wanna have something soft on in the background as you are studying or doing things in the house, that can really be helpful for you. So check that out, and I hope that that is a blessing to you, all right? We got to get back into some audio engineering, and I have a lot of ideas of different videos and things I want to show you. This first one is a technique dealing with reverb that I have learned and have used over the past couple years to get my vocal to cut through the reverb in a mix, especially if you have like a dense reverb where you want that nice big tail of the reverb, but maybe where the vocal is coming in, you want it to kind of punch through a little bit more. You don't want it to be as big. I'm going to show you a cool trick that you can use to make that happen. All right, it's going to be good, I promise you. Let's get into it.
Music.
Hey, how are you doing? I'm richly blessed. I pray that you are as well. So what I like to do when I need to get my vocal to cut through the reverb is put a compressor, and you can use whatever compressor you want. This will work with whatever reverb you like to use. We're gonna put a compressor after the reverb in the signal chain. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna side chain that compressor to the lead vocal, right? So side chaining is when we have the compressor be triggered by a outside signal, right? So I wanna have and you'll see this as we're going through, I don't want the compressor to be triggered by what's being sent to the reverb bus. I want the compressor to be triggered by the actual raw signal of the lead vocal. And we're gonna see that what that is going to do is I can start dialing it in where when the vocal comes in, the compressor is gonna push the reverb down. And so you'll hear less of the reverb and that vocal can cut through. But if you time your release right, as soon as the vocal is done, or even sometimes in between, if you have like pauses in between your phrases, that reverb is going to sing out, right? So the compressor is gonna boom, it's gonna squash down the reverb as the vocal comes in, and then once the vocal comes out, it's gonna release, and you'll get that nice big tail of the reverb that you want. So I'm gonna show you that process. We're gonna do it in Luna. Before we get into that, please take a moment and like this video, and feel free to subscribe to this channel. I'm so grateful to see the subscriber numbers going up and up and up. Let's keep that going and make this a big 2025. All right, let's get into it. All right, let's take a look at what we've got here. So I have a section of this song selected. This is a brand new mix. I have done nothing to it except a little bit of panning. And I have here a vocal. This is just a raw vocal. And I have this soloed out. Right now I have the vocal just going right to our Valhalla vintage verb. Got it on a nice about 2.3 second decay, no pre-delay on this. And I have it going into, of course, our Pro Q3 with the EQ curve that I typically like to use with reverbs for vocals. And I just have this soloed out with a little like harp kind of thing. I call it the pluck tar. It's like a combination of an acoustic guitar and a harp together. Let's just see what this sounds like. I've got a good amount of reverb dialed in here. Let's just see a little bit of what this sounds like as is.
I see you in the garden. I hear you wrestling.
All right, so just that little part there, we can see that it's, the reverb is big and dense. I want a nice tail on the reverb, but what I want to do is I want to get the front part of the vocal to cut through that reverb a little bit. I really only want the tail of the reverb, and the front part I want dialed back a little bit. And I don't want to do it with pre-delay because I don't want it to sound like a delay, right? Let's see what it sounds like. If I dial in some pre-delay here, let's see what it sounds like.
I see you in the garden.
See how it sounds like it's a delay on there? I don't want that. I want the vocal just to sit there, and then I want the tail of the reverb to come through. So here is how I'm going to do that. I am going to throw a compressor after the reverb. I'll throw it after the reverb and the EQ. Typically, let's just change the order of this. I typically, EQ it before I have the reverb. So let's throw our compressor right after our reverb. And I am going, you can use whatever compressor you want as long as it supports side chaining. I'm just going to throw in the Pro C2. This is very good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sidechain this to the raw vocal. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I want the level of the vocal to control what's going on here with my compressor, all right? Not the level of what's being sent, after it comes through. I want the actual level of the vocal here, all right, to control. So I'm going to simply come here, and I'm in Luna. So I got to do two things here. One, I'm going to use my Luna controls here to sidechain this to my lead vocal. And it's already there because I was messing around with this before I recorded it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to the bottom of Pro C2, and I'm going to expand this. Now, again, depending on the compressor you're using, we basically need to enable the sidechain to tell it to engage the sidechain. There might be different ways to do this. Right now, it is not engaged, so let's take a look at what it sounds like.
I see you in the garden.
All right, so notice the level of the threshold, and that's because it is not right now being drawn from the sidechain. So even if I come over here and turn the sidechain off in Luna, I'm still going to see things. Watch, I'm going to turn the sidechain off. Look.
I see you in the garden.
All right, and that's because it is not taking the signal from the sidechain yet. I need to engage it. So down here at the bottom, I'm going to switch this to external. And now let's look at our threshold.
I see you in the garden.
See the difference in the threshold? It's much hotter because now I'm taking the signal from the actual lead vocal and not from how much is being sent, right? So if I turn the sidechain off in Luna, I'm not going to see anything registering here. Watch what happens.
I see you in the garden.
Let's turn our sidechain back on.
I hear you wrestling.
Okay, so we have the sidechain configured correctly. Our compressor is receiving signal from the lead vocal. Now we're going to dial in our compression. And what I want, again, is I want it to compress when the vocal is in, and then I want it to release to give me the tail of my reverb. So we're going to play around with our threshold and with our release. We're going to keep the attack pretty fast, so we'll leave that here. Our ratio is fine. We can kind of play around with those things. I'm also going to turn this auto gain off, and let's see if we can dial this in and see what we get.
I see you in the garden. I hear you wrestling, saying 5.
So we're getting the effect that we want immediately. We can see with our threshold, as soon as I dial the threshold in, it's squashing that reverb and then releasing. Let's listen to that again with the threshold out, and then I'll dial it in and watch what it's doing.
I see you in the garden.
Let's dial our threshold in.
I hear you wrestling, saying 5.
See how that's cutting through that reverb? That is really, really nice, right? So now what I can do is I can start playing around with my release to make sure that I'm getting as much of that tail as I want without having like intermittent stuff happening between words. So let's play around with our release timing a little bit.
I see you in the garden. I hear you wrestling, saying 5. I don't want to do this. I thank you for your honesty. It makes me feel better about me, 'cause I found it takes time.
That is nice. Now we can kind of dial back on the reverb a little bit probably. Let's pull that back just a little bit. Let's see what we got.
I see you in the garden. I hear you wrestling, saying 5. I don't want to do
isn't that much more interesting? Now look what happens if we turn, let's turn the compressor off and just listen to it with the raw reverb. Let's turn the compressor off, then I'll turn it back on.
I see you in the garden. I hear you wrestling.
Let's turn it back on.
Saying, Father, I don't want to do this.
That is lovely. So it's now cutting right through and it's doing what I need it to do. This is great. Now we can play around with this. This is something that I like to use sometimes on more intimate stuff, more intimate parts of songs. I might not leave this on for the whole mix, but this is great for more intimate parts of songs, but we want to add a little bit of character to what the reverb is doing and just make it a little more interesting. We can play around with our settings, of course, to dial it in the way that we want. Now, some reverbs will actually come with this. If I were to, for example, throw on the lustrous plates, lustrous plates actually has a dynamic section that's built in. So you can kind of do that, but it's not going to be exactly the same because I'm not side chaining it here. So I'm getting my compression, but I'm getting it based off of the level that's being sent and not off of the raw vocal. And I really want it off of that, just a regular vocal. All right, so this is a great trick. Try it out. Get whatever reverb you like, your favorite reverb, get your favorite compressor, throw it after the reverb, and play around with your settings until you get the sound that you want. Okay, I hope that that was helpful to you. Again, you can do this in any DAW that you want. The side chain might be a little different as to how you enable it, but you can, any DAW is gonna have side chain capabilities, at least I believe so. You are gonna be able to use whatever reverb you want. You can use whatever compressor that you want. As long as it can sidechain, you can make it happen. So I hope that that helps you get those vocals really cutting through the reverb in your mix. All right. Again, please take a moment to like this video and jump in the comment section. I really enjoy. I try my best to like and reply to all the comments. I might not get to all of them, but I do my best. So I really enjoy interacting with you guys and answering your questions and reading your comments and all that kind of stuff. So make sure that you jump in the comment section and do that. And we'll be back again soon with another video. All right. Peace.